welcome to episode 12 of A Cat and Her Yarn Respun. I'm so sorry it's been 10 months since I last recorded. My last episode I talked about how I was going to be going on a trip to California, and I promised to post pictures when I got back. I haven't even had a chance to look at those pictures in the last 10 months. The trip was great, and it was a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff done, but it was really exhausting. And I'll go into more of that in another episode. The rest of 2008, unfortunately, was rather sad and stressful. I had several family members and friends get some very bad diagnoses. Some ended up in the hospital and some passed away. So, with 2019, we decided to dive into house hunting. But because of some logistics, we decided to move our wedding date from May 2019 up to January 2019. So now I'm a married woman. As you can see, I was a non-traditional bride. I originally wanted to get married by the Justice of the Peace, but I found this really cute place called the Wedding Chapel, which was a 1940s house that had been, the front half had been turned into a wedding space, and it ended up costing a fourth of what getting married by the Justice of the Peace would have cost, and it was just a lot nicer. Didn't have to stand around waiting for a case to end and get shuffled in between before the next case, and a lot less stress, all other kind of stuff. So it was a really nice little ceremony. My mother and my sister were the witnesses, and that was pretty much all I wanted, was just my two witnesses that I was required to have, and saying the vows and signing the papers. So I was rather happy with that. We had to wait to have our honeymoon though until my husband finished his semester. We just recently got back from that. But in the meantime, we found a house, which is what I'm in now. And in fact, I'm in my own personal studio. This is all mine. Everything in here, for the most part, is mine. Anything left in here that's not mine will be moving out soon. But yeah, I have a huge studio that it was originally the garage that the previous owners had converted into a family room, and the garage itself is set back from the front of the house, but it shares the ridge line, front roof line with the front of the house, so this creates this really nice shaded area, and I'm going to turn that into my spinning patio. I'm going to build a half wall to kind of enclose the area a little bit and get some of those bamboo rolled shades to block the sun at points, because the sun comes in from that side, but it'll give me a nice covered area for me to hang my fleeces from in the herb dryers, so that even if it starts to rain, they won't get wet. So that's really nice. I'm really happy with this house. So what I was about to say is that one of the drawbacks to living in this house is the fact that we're right next to the train tracks, just as the train went by. So I'm going to have to probably edit. That was a short train, luckily. I think that was the Amtrak. The freight trains make noise for a lot longer. So, looking over here, I had so much stuff. I have show notes on my computer over here. So let's move into the fibery stuff, shall we? So in 10 months, I only have one finished object to show you, because that's how that was, unless you count spinning the second skein for this. So this is the Deep Creek Cowl by Kristen Jancook. Love the texture of it. I originally fell in love with how it looks blocked, but I made a cowl because I needed something that would cover my nose and not slip down, and all of my other cowls and scarves, no matter how I pinned it, would fall down. So I, unfortunately, when I did the swatch for this, and then did the number of repeats I would get to get the measurement I wanted, I didn't take blocking into account. So if I blocked it, it would fall down just like my other cowl does. So I want to make this one again and block that one, because I really love how it looks when it's all blocked out. It's really pretty. While I was making this, I also discovered the imitation I-cord cast on and bind off, which is a paired matching cast on and bind off, which I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but I really like the way it turned out. It was an easy bind off, very easy bind off. I made it a little bit smaller on top again so it would grip my nose and stay up here. I'll insert some pictures of what it looks like on me. But this is my hand spun. I originally bought there's two different braids of fibers that went into this. And the first one I bought at the Southeast Animal Fiber Festival in Asheville, North Carolina, back when I was living in Georgia. And I bought it in October of 2008 for a spin along that was supposed to happen in November. That the categories, you were supposed to pick at least one of the following: either BFL, an orange dyed roving or bat, or you were to spin up a cabled yarn. I decided to do all three. So I found this roving by Bullen's Woolens, just called their Orange BFL, and I cable plied it. And for those of you who don't know what a cable ply is, in this particular instance, it's a 4-ply yarn where you spin 4 singles, but instead of spinning all 4 of those singles at the same time to create a standard 4-ply, you take 2 of the singles and ply them together to make a 2-ply yarn. Repeat the process with the other 2 singles, and then you ply those 2-ply yarns in the opposite direction against each other, and it produces this really nice cabled yarn. And this is what's left of, I can see it very well. I don't know if I can get the structure in here, but I'll insert some pictures. A little bit better. But this is all that's left of the first skein. And then what I originally was going to do with this was I was going to make arm warmers. But when I originally spun an ounce of it and made a skein out of that, I decided I wasn't going to have enough yardage for the almost arm length arm warmers, elbow length arm warmers I wanted to make. So I scoured the internet for another braid of fiber that was very similar, and I ended up purchasing something from Maine Woods Yarn and Fiber called Maine Lobster. And I'll insert a picture here of what the two of them look together. I made these little, what I call cupcake roving balls to make it easier to spin, and the roving on the right is the Bullen Woolens Orange BFL, and the roving on the left is the Maine Woods Maine Lobster. So I ended up taking apart my first yarn into the 4 plies it was, so that I could then ply 1 ply of the Bullen Woolens with 1 ply of the Maine Lobster, and then repeat that with the other 2 ply, and then made those together. And so that made this skein here. But then 10 years had gone by since I had first spun that, so there's a lot of thick and thin sections in 2 of the 4 plies that were in this skein. And I realized I didn't put enough twist in. You need to put a lot of twist in the cable, the yarn singles, because you're plying it back and forth. So I put more twist into the stuff that I finished spinning between last year and this year. And so this is what my second skein ended up looking like. See if you can get that here. The Can't tell on this camera usually how well it's focusing, but I'll insert a picture of this finished yarn too. But I think you can see from here that I ended up with a much different yarn. So I was going to make my cowl a little bit longer, but when I did a repeat in this yarn and then the bind off, it looked way too different. I love the way this turned out, and I love the way this turned out, and I love the way this turned out, but it's very different. So I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I might make a headband, I might make arm warmers again. This pattern was originally the Deep Creek cowl pattern. It was made originally made for Aran weight, and what I ended up spinning for this skein was more of a DK weight, which was what I was aiming for with the previous project. But when I saw the Deep Creek cowl pattern, I was like, I've got to make that. I can make it work, and I did. You know, it's just you know, like I said, I had to swatch and then compensate for how many repeats of the pattern I needed to do in the round to get the measurement I wanted. So I'm really happy with it. In fact, I missed spinning with orange so much that the next fiber festival I went to, where I went directly to just looking at everything orange, and I picked up a braid that's not quite as ready orange, but still fun. So that was pretty much all I had finished in 10 months. So let's move on to what I'm currently working on. I am working on another cowl. And this is the Cute Cables cowl by Elaine Phillips, and it's a very dark yarn, so you can't tell, I don't think, very well that it is two colors, so I might have to insert a picture. This is made out of the yarn here, Cascade Luminosa, in the garnet and emerald colorways. And this is actually going to be a cowl for my husband. We went to a yarn store. He indulged me by hanging around inside the yarn store while I was talking to a woman that was knitting in there. And then he seemed to be impatient. I figured he was getting tired of being in the yarn store. So I finished my conversation and I went over to him, and really what he wanted to do was show me this yarn. And his favorite color is green, and his second favorite color is red. And he really likes both of them paired with black. So this yarn, I don't know if you could tell in the picture so far, is basically the undercurrent of the green or the red with, like, I'm not sure if it's the alpaca or the nylon that produces this mohair halo effect on it. But it is a unfortunately my computer won't stay on because I've got it. It's 52% rayon, 44% alpaca, and 4% wool. It's very soft, really nice. I'm very looking forward to the finished object on this. And again, I used the I-cord cast on. Don't know if that's gonna come in or not because it's so dark. But I used the I-cord imitation I-cord cast on. Unfortunately, for some reason, I went up in needle size because I'm thinking cast-ons go up in needle size, and it produced kind of this flaring effect. So I have to decide if I want to recreate that by going up in needle size when I cast off. But so far, he likes it. It's a pretty easy pattern. I know I've got a lot of stitch markers, but that's a way I can just mindlessly knit it, and when I come to a stitch marker, I know I need to do something just slightly different than what I was doing. And because I have a hard time reading cable rows, this is the stitch marker I put in to tell me where the last time I did the cable was, because I have a tendency with my cable projects to have cables that are, some of them are closer together and some of them are further away than their companions. So hopefully that'll keep me from having to tink back and fix that pattern. So that was the current knitting project. This is my current spinning project. And right now there is the Vuelta a Lana, which is very similar to the Tour de Fleece in that it's taking place alongside the Vuelta a España, which is one of the 3 grand bicycle tours in the international biking circuit, alongside the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia. Those are considered the 3 major grand tours of bicycle racing. And the Vuelta a España is going to start October 24th, and it's going to end September 15th. So we have a little group in Facebook, and I'll put the link to it in the show notes. If anybody wants to participate, you can show up late. We don't care. There's a small group of us so far that are continuing it from last year. And just, it's like the Tour de Fleece. Just, spin a little bit each day, even if it's only 5 minutes, and then post a picture of your progress. You can challenge yourself on challenge days if you want to. You can watch the bicycle race while you're spinning if you want to, whatever it is you want to do. The only requirement for participation is that you take as many daily pictures as you can. If you skip some days, that's fine, but as long as you post a few pictures of your progress throughout the, is that 2 weeks that it's going to take place? A little over 2 weeks. So I'm getting my spinning in, and this is what I'm calling my Rainbow Sampler 2. Last year for Tour de Fleece, and then I continued on spinning it till it was done. I spun what I called my Rainbow Sampler, which was odds and ends that I had collected over the years that wasn't quite enough, an ounce or less of things, and I spun it in rainbow order. Unfortunately, because of the move, it is currently MIA. Hopefully I'll find it soon, because I want to add the Rainbow Sampler 2 to it. So I was upset about the lack of yardage I'd gotten out of my Rainbow Sampler. I hadn't plied it yet. I wanted to chain ply it to maintain the rainbow, but I definitely wasn't going to end up with enough yardage, and so I was thinking about plying it with either white, black, or gray, because I like the rainbow gradients I've seen that have been then plied with one of those 3 colors. But I really didn't want to do that. But of all the patterns that I was looking at, there just wasn't enough yardage. And so I heard about this estate sale, and I was told there would be some high-end independent dyed sock yarn at this estate sale. So I made sure that I was there the minute it opened and head straight for the sock yarn. And I'm like 2 armfuls deep into this sock yarn basket when I realized that just the side is one of the big tubs. I mean, I'm not talking like, your standard Rubbermaid tubs. I'm talking about the long ones with no cap, full of fiber. And the only thing that had a price tag on it was some 50/50 alpaca silk, black alpaca with white silk, that was $10 for 4 ounces. I knew that was a deal. So I asked the woman how much the rest of the fiber was. I couldn't find a price tag. She's like, you can have the whole thing for $35. So I finished, grabbing the rest of my sock yarn and paid for everything and rushed out the door. I didn't look at any of the other yarns. There was 2 tables of really nice quilting fabric. Supposedly, I heard there was 3 spinning wheels and 2 looms there. Didn't see them. I knew I couldn't afford them. I just wanted to get out with my purchases before anything else happened. Partially because as I had put my stuff down to count it out for the seller so I could give her the money, a woman came and started shopping from my pile like, oh, this is nice, I think I'll take this. I'm like, no, that's alright, this is mine. So I had this big, I shoved as much as I could into the tub and was holding on to the rest of it. And in fact, this gentleman helped me to my car because I was very precariously balancing everything. And I just got out of there and was high on the fumes of the deal I had made. So there was a lot of, I ended up with over 7 pounds, not including that alpaca, 7 pounds of fiber in that tub. Now, 5 pounds of it was some undyed Ashland Bay Chevio roving, but there were several dyed 4-ounce braids and even an 8-ounce braid that from a seller that I knew exactly how much that 8-ounce bride should cost. And I think everything came out to like, I want to say I figured it was 27 cents a pound. I forgot to look that up before I did all this. And of course my thing has gone completely out of what I was doing. So I had all that, but there was these bits and pieces that were, you know, an ounce or less. I'm like, well, there we go. I will make another rainbow sampler, and I will splice the yarn in rainbow order with my rainbow sampler 1. So I've already spun up the reds and orange, and the yellowy orange is going to be my yellow for it. And this is the first green. It's on the bobbin here. And this is the second green. And then this is the third green. And there goes the train. So I'm going to pause it here for a moment. And then this is this is the second and third green, and then this is the blue. So this was actually the 8-ounce roving, but I figured I didn't need 8 ounces and I really needed some more blue. So I grabbed a little bit, not very much, off the bottom of that roving. Get that all back in there. And then there was this purple. And this was some locks actually that I ended up putting on my drum card, or making some thin little row legs off of it. Got a little bit of red specks in it. Basically it was like purple locks that they dyed the tips red in. And then this was another purple that was in there. And then this is some purple I've had I think a pound of for a while, and I think I need to grab more than just this little bit. But looking at Rainbow Sampler 1, there was also like some purple, dark purple. There wasn't any dark purple in it, so I'm gonna get some more of that and add that to the end. So I'm going to chain ply it, and that should give me more than enough yardage for the pattern I finally decided on, and that is going to be the Dreambird Knit Along by Nadita Swings. I believe that's right. Let me get back to where I'm supposed to be. Yes, Nadita Swings. So I'm hoping to have this done. I'm hoping I'll finish this during the Volta Lana, and then I'm going to dye up, I'm thinking some navy blue. So getting back to the estate sale. So the yarn, the sock yarn that I got a great deal on too. There were a lot of subscription box yarns like Knit Crate, and I think one was called Yarn Box. I can't remember exactly, but there was a couple, several subscription box ones, and several of the like speckled yarns and variegated yarns were packaged in their 100-gram cakes, and they were put in baggies, like gallon or 2-gallon baggies, 3 to a bag for $5. So I ended up with 100 grams of sock yarn for less than $1.70, and I got a lot of those bags. And there was some merino cashmere nylon blends that I got for straight up $5. Everything was paired off into $5 increments, either individual yarns or packaged into a Ziploc bag for $5. So I ended up with a lot of sock yarn, and I'm going to insert some pictures of both the. And then, while I was on my honeymoon, we went to an antique mall, and they had a wall of $2 a skein yarn. And I found several older, not quite vintage, but almost sock yarns for $2 a skein, including a skein and a half of trekking, and some shoulder yarn, shoulder fortissima, from before shoulder merged with stall, and it became shoulder installed fortissima saka. So this was just straight shoal fortissima. I got several skeins of that, but that got me a lot of solids that I can use for heels and toes to pair up with all the indie speckled and variegated sock yarn I got at the estate sale. So I'm set for sock yarn for a while. Said no true knitter ever, but I don't have to stress as much about having enough sock yarns to make one pair of socks for me, because I have large feet and I like knee highs, so even 100 grams of yarn doesn't quite produce the size sock that I want without substituting contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs, and now I've got the sock yarn to do that. So I'm very, very happy with my recent purchases. So moving on to other acquisitions, I'm going to go back to Christmas because I got several exciting things for Christmas. One of them is this. My husband spoiled me rotten. This is the Nancy Knit Knacks Deluxe Ball Winder. I still haven't used it to its full capacity because it makes huge cakes and obviously still has room to spare, unlike my old little plastic one where I was really hard pressed to finish a cake this big. It would be rubbing up against the side. And that one can make a cake like this and then another. I could have added all 8 ounces of this onto this and probably still had room. So, and it's just so smooth. It's really nice. It's almost meditative to wind. Whereas I was always stressed out when I was using my plastic one because it's like one of these days it's going to break in the middle of the skein and then what am I going to do? So he completely surprised me with this one. So I was really happy with that. And then my mother got me some Tiago shorties. And these things are so tiny. It's almost scary how tiny they are. So this is actually the package, but this is actually the needles. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So let's see here. Oh dear. So that's the size 0. Let's see if I can get this. And that's the 2-inch needles, and then they're interchangeables and you just put it on your cables, and so you can do the 9-inch cuffs if you want, which I was doing with the fixed ones and I really liked. So when I heard the shorties were coming out, I was very happy. And it goes, so the set comes with the 2-inch and the 3-inch, and it goes from 0 to 3 in US sizes, which is 2mm up to 3.25mm in metric. And I am so happy with them, even though I haven't gotten to use them quite yet. But as soon as I finish my husband's cowl, I am casting on some socks. But he never asked me to knit him something before, so his cowl took precedence. His cowl took precedence. The other thing my mother got me, which was really cool, is it's a crochet set. Let's see if I can get this out. Here we go. So it's an interchangeable crochet set, and the handle is made out of myrtle wood, which is becoming a very rare wood to find here in the Pacific Northwest. It used to be on like every corner in the tourist areas. That's what this set looks like. I have, so that is that, and then, so the other thing that I got, I think in February, there was a Clear the Barn sale, and I ended up with 5 lamb fleeces. They're 3 Border Leicester Jacob crosses called Grey Girl, Girlfriend, and Ashley. One which was a Border Leicester Gotland cross named Kate. Beautiful midnight black fleece Navajo Churro lamb named Maverick. And my husband ended up with 2 pelts. He loves pelts. And one of them he loved so much that he wore it in the car with it up to his chin like this, and it's like a rusty brown color. He looked just like Chewbacca, and we got some really weird looks as we were driving down the road because it looked like Chewbacca was in my passenger seat. So I went to wash one of the first pelts of the 5, and Grey Girl, and my new dryer has dried my sweaters without felting them, so I thought it had a no, I thought that setting was no heat, but evidently not. Luckily I checked it right before it started felting badly. So this is, I pulled it apart a little bit, but as you can see it started felting. It's not too bad, it pulls apart pretty well, and it flicks open. So I've been taking the flicker and opening the locks. So this is what I haven't processed yet, other than to pull the locks apart into more single lock structures. No, I haven't gotten all of it evidently, because like this one. That's a little matted, but if you pull it apart, it'll open it up enough, and then I can use a flicker to open it. And then what I've been doing, so this is the processed stuff, and it's turning out like that. Look at that. It's just beautiful. And yeah, it's not too hard, so it's not too felted. Just a little bit, started matting just a little bit, but I'm able to get this out of it. So it's going to be a gorgeous fleece. But this is my little setup. I've got these 4 boxes. So the finished box, and this is where they start from. And then this box here is what came off of my flicker that I think I might still be able to salvage. There's a lot of nice wool still in here, but there's also a lot of vegetable matter in here. So I'm gonna go through that all at once later. And then this is the box so far of definite waste. I don't even want to bother with it. I probably could salvage some more of this, but I'm probably not gonna bother. It's been a long process. I started this from before I started packing for this move, so February, March. Yeah, I've been doing it since March. But speaking of flickers, I didn't have a flicker when I started this, and I was using just my hand cards and just like the front row of it to try and like just open it, and my hand cards are heavy and it was hurting my wrist. And I won a gift card to Webb's, so I used that to buy myself an Ashford flicker. Little hand flicker. This has been so useful. And with the rest of my gift card, I got some of the rainbow blocking pins. So it's got like 8 of the blocking pins this size. Oops, get that back in there. And then 12 of the blocking pins this size. So I'm hoping it'll make my next blocking project a lot easier. And then also, the neighbor across the street from where we used to live camps next to a bison ranch, and he brought me back some bison, and I've had to process it. It's the stuff the bison scratches themselves on the fence. That's the word I want. On the fence, and then kind of tumbles into the area that they camp in. And so it ends up really dirty. I'm not even going to take this out of the bag, it's so dirty. But see, look at all that straw in there. So it's really dirty, and plus there's guard hairs. But I bought, between the flicker and I bought 2 different sizes of flea gums for dogs and cats. I don't know if you can see the sizes, but this is a further apart than that one. But I used the 2 of these kind of as like mini hand combs, and this is what I've processed so far. So that's all bison. All together with the vegetable matter, what he gave me came out to 4 ounces. I'm expecting to have less than 4 ounces after I'm done. But then again, this, it wasn't a whole bunch of waste. A lot of dirt fell out. Got a lot of vegetable matter out, but actually it wasn't too bad. But look at all that bison. It's so nice. So hopefully I'll be able to do something, maybe some little lace scarfy project made out of bison, or maybe he'll bring me back some more because Mom's still friends with his wife, so hopefully he'll be bringing me back some more. I can get more bison. We'll see. Okay, and then the next acquisition I want to talk about today. So on my honeymoon, and I will go into all the stuff I did for my honeymoon because it was almost 6 weeks of a car ride from Washington State down to Louisiana, stopping in Oklahoma for quite a few days. And while we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, just a little bit outside the city, was a farm called the Shepherd's Cross Farm, where they had been breeding their own sheep for 25 years. So they don't even say this one's a Jacob, this one's a such and such cross. They just call it the Shepherd's Cross breed now. And they had golden fleeces. So I ended up, excuse the crinkly, gorgeousness. Oh, so this one is what they call their golden fleeces. I charge a little bit more for it than their other colors. But, oh, it's so nice. Like, we just got home for the honeymoon, so I haven't had a chance to wash it yet. Here is a lock I pulled out so you can see it a little bit better. That beautiful lock structure. I hope that's showing up on the camera. It's just really nice. Really love it. And they also had some bats. And when I was taking this out, I thought I had gotten 4 wool bats. Come to find out, one of the colors is actually 100% alpaca. But this is what the barn looks like. It has their store in it. And it's a huge barn. I took pictures. It's 2 stories. And so I have a whole bunch of pictures of the little museum upstairs and all the stuff. It's really neat. And just the stuff in general. And then this is the wool bat. I got 2 of these bats in this color they call Dusky Rose. And this is off of their sheep. And then they just dyed it. And then this is what I realized after I took it out of the bag. It's 100% alpaca. And they call it garnet. Looks kind of a pinky orange to me. But, you know, okay. So then I got 2 bats of these. So that was all at the Shepherd's Cross Farm in Claremore, Oklahoma, just outside Tulsa. So, and then the last thing I wanted to show you, I think it's the last thing, yes. So while we were on my honeymoon, it was my birthday, and my mother had given me access to one of her bank. I have my own card for her accounts in case something ever happens to her, and also she wanted to make sure in case there was an emergency while we were on the road, she could just, you know, have me take money out of her account. And so for my birthday, she told me I could go to a yarn store and spend some money on myself. And while we were in Texas on my birthday, the day of my birthday, we were in Fort Worth. And so I went to the West 7th Wools yarn shop in Fort Worth, Texas, because they have Woolmisa. So I finally own some Woolmisa. I think that's how it's pronounced. I've heard it pronounced Woolmies, Woolmisa, Woolmies, Woolmisa. So, but I got the colorway Flow Market, which is this wonderful autumn, like a hunter green and orange and maroon, a little bit of brown. And then this is, oh, I'm probably gonna butcher this. Colton Polar. And this is their twin colorway, so it's got the 20% polyamide, so really nice sock yarn. And I just love this bright colors. All this magenta and purple and turquoise and brilliant blue. So, and they're 150 skeins, so I should be able to make a pair of socks for myself without contrasting heels and toes. We'll see, but yeah, I finally own some. Like everybody else I know owns at least 1 skein. I feel like a real knitter now because I have that. So that's all of my acquisitions. But again, I'm hoping to get to record more often now because I have this wonderful space. So I will talk more about the California trip on another episode and my honeymoon on another episode. May or may not be the same episode. So again, if you want to follow my progress for the Vuelta a Lana, I am Kiara Panther on Instagram, as well as pretty much every other social media site. And so on Instagram, I will post a daily progress post, as well as in the Vuelta a Lana Facebook group, and I've been posting them in the Spinner Study Facebook group. So I will have links to that in the show notes if you want to join along over there. I have a link to the Instagram if you want to just go directly there. And that'll be my daily progress until September 15th. And hopefully I will be recording another one of these before that's over. And I will talk to everybody later. Sorry to make you wait so long. Thank you for sticking around and watching me again.